What is going on, everybody? Depraved Slasher here. We are back with another music... Well, it's not even music reaction.
Reaction.
It's a different kind of reaction. So...
He's Depraved. I'm Hellcat. Welcome to HellaDepraved.
Yes, thank you.
Wrap that up.
So... Some people put me in a bad mood today.
Right. Just in general.
And I didn't want to listen to anybody's music.
Because, you know what? Fuck them all.
It's kind of my mood today.
Yeah. So...
We love you all of you artists. But y'all can kiss my butt too.
My mom voice wanted to make an appearance. So, anyway, we're going to follow our first love, which is...
Horror.
Horror. Yeah.
Horror, not horror. And we are actually going to be watching WatchMojo's top 10 worst horror movie remakes. And then we will follow it up sometime later today.
Right.
With top 10 best horror movie remakes.
Let's see what he thinks.
So...
Do we agree? Do we not?
Chances are I will not, because I typically favor remakes.
Right.
And most of the time, the reasons people hate remakes are the reasons why I love them.
Right.
Which is irritating.
Well, we'll get into that if they make an appearance on either or list.
We'll talk about
I tend
specific
to agree
movies.
with you, yeah.
But yeah, so...
I wouldn't necessarily say favor, though. Like, there are pros and cons, so we'll get there.
There. So, with that being said, we're going to react to this. This is like 6 years old also, by the way.
Right.
So there's probably even some horror movie remakes that have not even made either of these lists.
Right,
Because of how much older it is.
Exactly.
So.
Okay.
But yeah, we're going to react to this if you guys have already seen it. If not, click the link in the description below. Hop on over, do all things, come back. We say that because we're a commentary, reaction, breakdown, comedy channel. What that means is we will pause for any and or all of the above. Not that there's much to break down.
Or just stay tuned and listen to our opinions. See if you agree, disagree, whatnot.
Chances are you won't, because we seem to be in the minority on this. So.
Yeah, well, we're right. Oh, sorry. Wait, what?
With that being said, couple guesses. I'm going to guess that the Nightmare on Elm Street remake is going to be number 1. It seems to be the most hated remake of all time.
Right.
Which I actually really like the remake. I will not say love.
I love it.
But
I'll go out on a limb and I'll just be like, you know what?
Really like it.
I love it. Now, that's one that I paused on the, like, better or worse, because Robert will always be Freddy. And should be. However, I love the remake. Yeah, like, you know, so again, it has pros and cons. Yeah.
So I'm guessing that'll be on here. I'm guessing the Amityville Horror remake will be on here because a lot of people seem to hate that.
A lot of people hated, it was Halloween 2? Rob Zombie's out yet?
Well, they don't consider that
a remake because
it's a sequel to a remake.
Okay. We'll see.
But Rob's will probably be on here too. His first one.
Again.
Which, again, that's the only reason I even started liking the Halloween series. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right.
We'll see. Let's see what they got. WatchMojo.
Killer, Billy, killer!
Shut up, I got this!
We can all agree that some things are best left alone, especially when it comes to the classics in horror.
I also disagree with that.
I was just going to say, nope.
Because I think remakes are necessary. Now, do I think people should pop out a remake like 3 years after the last movie was made?
No. I also don't think that it should be a, like, carte blanche to just remake everything and not have original pieces. I'll agree with that, because there's been a trend in remakes, like, even with Disney, like, changing it to live action.
Right.
Now, do I dislike the live action? No, but they're not making originals at the same time that they're making. So again, there's pros and cons.
Right.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 worst horror movie remakes.
Get you and your family out of that house. Right now.
Right now.
For this list, we've picked movie remakes in the horror genre based on a mix of their lack of originality, negative reviews, poor acting, and or production.
Lack of originality?
All remakes have lack of originality, first off.
They're a remake.
Right. And I also hate the idea of going off of reviews. Make
Yeah.
it your personal list. Don't look at reviews. Like,
Well, also,
I'm a firm believer of judging a movie yourself. Don't listen to what other people think.
we've seen how well, like, Tomato Meter has done versus, like, personal opinion in terms of votes.
Right.
Like, they're not anybody to judge. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, we're talking about remakes. They're supposed to be the same story, just updated
And a little different.
slightly, but originality shouldn't even be in the mix. Yeah.
As well as those that seemed completely unnecessary and or that they were redone only to make money.
I'm sorry.
Number 10, House on Haunted Hill.
Some say the spirits of Vannegut and his victims still live within the walls of the house on Haunted Hill.
As the first movie produced by Dark Castle.
I liked the remake.
Let's listen to what she has to say in terms of why they listed it.
Probably just as much as the original.
I think it's a kind of 50-50, yeah.
Entertainment. A company that initially intended to specialize in remakes, you would think that they would have put more effort into this production.
I guess you'll just have to try harder next time.
The original 1959 movie garnered a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, they're going to use Rotten Tomatoes even.
I'm going to call bullshit. Not that it's not 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. To be 100% honest, the ending to the original House on Haunted Hill, and do not get me wrong, Vincent Price is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
All the way through the entire movie. But the ending was so terrible, it almost ruined the movie for me.
I mean, nobody can replace Vincent Price as Vincent Price.
No.
However, that's why I'm calling 50-50. Plus, I mean, the beauty of remakes is advanced technology, screening, CGI, whatever you want to add in, but making it look more realistic, you know?
And one of the things I loved that they did with the remake, if I remember correctly, the main villain, like the main guy, his name was Vincent.
Right.
And I think he worked, if I remember correctly, it was for like Price Industries or something
Yeah.
like that.
Exactly.
So the tie-in to Vincent Price
gave
being in the original
nods.
was a fantastic
Yeah.
homage that
Yeah.
a lot of remakes don't do.
Yeah. At all.
But this 1999 version squeaked out a meager 27%.
From here on, it gets really scary.
Instead of being scary, House on Haunted Hill played on too many cheesy horror tropes.
It wasn't goddamn ghosts.
A horror movie with horror tropes? No!
That'll never... And honestly, again, look, Rotten Tomatoes, don't base your opinion on them. They suck. But second of all, most horror movies are comedic.
Well, to us.
No, I mean, if you think about how many tropes, cheesy lines, blah, 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 that's part of the thrills. You know? And people laugh while they're scared. That's, you know, it is what it is. But, yeah.
This is plain and simple, good old-fashioned homicide.
And depended too much on special effects.
Stephen, I want you. I've always wanted you.
The result was a film that seemed rushed, with little attempt to make the characters likable.
That's a whole new bunch of crazy shit. You'll hate that shit.
I mean...
I will never be one of those people that will ever sit and debate on if practical or special effects.
Right.
One's better than the other. For me, it's 100% how it's used. Yes, there are some crappy special effects that are used in some movies, and again, the original or the remake to Nightmare on Elm Street's one of them that has
Right.
one moment where
You're like, what?
the CGI is so bad that it's like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Right.
But then they'll turn around. And never mind.
Yeah,
I won't
we'll
get into
get
that
there
movie
when
till
we get
later
there,
because we
but-
know it'll be there. But like, a lot of the special effects, other than that one scene that they showed, which was the very end scene.
Right. We're actually well done.
We're actually well
Yeah.
done.
Now, her thing was that they were overused. And again, it's one of those things, well, it's supposed to be a haunted, you know, so what, people are supposed to still run around in sheets?
Right.
It's just one of those things that if you are dealing with a supernatural based horror movie, it makes sense to use a lot of special effects because we have them and they look more realistic than people running around in sheets.
Right.
Number 9, The Amityville Horror.
This one just makes me mad because I actually probably put this in my top 5 horror movie remakes.
And I am one of those people, and I'll openly state this for ridicule, I did not like the original.
Now, see, I loved the original.
I just didn't.
But I do think this is leagues better.
And I like this one. Now, I wouldn't put it in my top tier list. You know, I love Ryan Reynolds. And
no, I just mean based on remakes.
Oh, yeah. I don't know where it would rank. But the Amityville original, like, I've tried to watch it with an open mind so many times, and I get bored. Like, that's just, I get bored. Right. So this one I actually like. I don't know.
And I loved the backstory that they put into this one.
Right.
Where they go in to explain about the guy that was sacrificing people in the house, which is
and he finds the whole basement and finds the tools of the guy, and yeah, I like it.
God. This movie tries to pay homage to the 1979 original. But it should have tried harder to be original. Instead of coming off as authentic, maintaining the 1970s look for the set design seemed like a cheap way to make the movie appear scarier than it really is.
We stay here. We'll have a house for the family, only there won't be a family.
The Amityville Horror hinges on the believability of the father's descent into madness. But nice guy Ryan Reynolds was horribly miscast for the role.
And I'm calling bullshit!
So, just because he's normally the funny guy, are you saying that he can't take a serious horror role?
Look,
I thought he was perfectly...
I avoided watching this remake for almost 7 years because I was afraid he was not going to fit that role well.
Right.
And then I watched it and loved how well he played this role because you can definitely see the descent into madness.
Right. Well, and what I think I love about this one that was part of the reason my interest wasn't held in the original is the original relationship he has with his wife and the kids. Like, it's funny, it's normal, you can tell that it's healthy at that point, you know, and then the descent was slow enough and believable enough that you're like, you know, what is going on? Of course, you know the story, so.
Right.
But in the 70s clothing, like, again, the original was set in the 70s. Like, they're still going off of that. So, I don't know. I just don't feel like any of the... I'm perfectly open to other people's opinions. I just don't feel like the reasoning that has been given so far for any of these has been solid.
Right.
I don't know.
You listen to me. You don't go down there. Understand?
The movie seemed to focus more on his washboard abs rather than the character's psyche.
Seriously, you trying to kill me?
Number 8, Carrie.
I loved this one, too.
In contrast to the Oscar-nominated...
Now, this is one of the ones I think they're just as good as the original.
Yeah, this is definitely...
Not either one is really better.
There's pros and cons to both of them.
But it does do... It basically just follows literally the first movie for almost step by step. There are some differences, not many.
Right. Well, it is just the original story is what it was meant to be.
But that's also fine with me.
Yeah.
And I thought everyone did a wonderful job in their roles.
See, I think that's the thing, is it's a remake. It's not a remastering. You know, it's not a reimagined.
Right.
It's a remake. It is, when you hear that a remake is happening, my mind immediately goes to it's a redoing of the original. Not that it's a take on the original, or it's, I don't know, somebody's reinterpretation of some part of the original. You know, you expect the original story. So, I don't know.
1976 adaptation. There was just something about this 2013 version that felt too nice. Based on the Stephen King novel of the same name, Carrie tells the story of a young outcast who discovers she is telekinetic.
Telekinesis unlocking the mind.
In the first film, Sissy Spacek brought a vulnerability and otherness to the role.
I got invited to the prom.
However, in this adaptation, Chloe Grace Moretz seemed too likable to play a social misfit, and her make-under wasn't anywhere near believable. Almost everyone in this new cast seemed too Hollywood and glamorous for their parts, and it just didn't work.
This is bullshit! We didn't do anything wrong! Alright, let's go! Right, Sue? You're with me on this, right?
Number 7.
Okay, I'm not sure what she meant by that. It is Hollywood. That's where you get actors and actresses.
Well, so what I'm thinking she meant is it felt to them unbelievable with how Hollywood they were.
Right.
However, I will say, at least as far as middle school went, before I switched school districts,
Right.
I went to a school where all the girls dressed and acted like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And wore makeup and yeah.
Right.
And I was in junior high and high school in the 90s. And that was the thing. Now, here's the other thing. So, again, with the advances in technology that we have, you're going to get a crisper, cleaner picture unless you're filming specifically with filters, lighting, whatever, to get that sort of gritty look. And so that clarity and what she was calling like the Hollywood look honestly just comes with the production value versus, you know, how things were filmed back then. So again,
now I will agree with one thing.
Carrie was definitely a beauty in this one.
Right.
Yeah.
Sissy Spacek.
Right.
Since I can't just fuck her name.
Tongue twister. Sissy. We'll go with Sissy.
They did a lot better job making her look more homely.
Right.
Than they did in the remake.
And honestly, part of that is going to come with her coloring was just, I think, easier to mute because, you know, when you're a ginger, you tend to have the white blonde or reddish lashes and the freckles, really white skin like Sissy had. So it was probably easier for them to, you know, take it down even a notch because Sissy was a beautiful gal. But I forget the name of the actress who played Carrie this time through. Is just beautiful. Like, and again, with all the clean filming and whatnot, the right lighting and everything, it shows. But then you think about her horrific home life, the fact that she was an introvert, this, that, and the other, and you know, it doesn't matter what you look like.
Right.
Kids in high school are horrible. So, again, that's not really, I don't know.
So number 7's One Missed Call.
Okay.
I've never seen the original. I've seen the remake. I quote it because to me it's not a remake. Right. It's the only one I've seen.
When do you know when the original came? Because I don't think I've seen the original.
I don't.
Okay.
But I didn't think this was bad, but it wasn't good either as a movie.
Okay.
It was just kind of there.
Meh. I had a meh.
One Missed Call.
To listen to your messages, press 1. Voice call received Wednesday, June 14th, 12:02 p.m.
Hollywood often imports Asian horror movies and remakes them for a Western audience.
But I heard them, okay? Leanne got a phone call, and so did Brian right before they died.
And they don't always do well. This film is no exception.
Any dead people call? We're not home.
Instead of playing up the suspense and darkness of the 2003 Japanese flick, 2008's One Missed Call added forced relationships and random scenes that were meant to scare but ultimately failed.
That's not my ringtone.
It says it's from Shelley.
That's creepy.
The script had no direction, and it was universally panned for trying to borrow elements from other horror movies.
It's 8:32 p.m. on Friday. It's 2 days from now.
The cast's uninteresting performances only made matters worse.
Ryan! Your phone!
Damn it, I forgot. I swear if I didn't have my head screwed on.
Bye-bye.
Number 6.
All right. So.
I do like him as an actor, though, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is why, on a technicality, I could see why they would put that there. I have a hard time considering Japanese to American as a remake.
Right.
I consider it more of a reimagining, because you're taking something from another country and reimagining it for your audience.
Right, but oftentimes they're not even the same story per se.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
technicality's sake, yes, it's a remake.
Right.
So I get why it's here. But for me, I couldn't put like this.
What was it like? Even Shudder. Like, there's been so many.
Now, Shudder's is actually very close.
It is, but
And
but
it's
I
two
was gonna
stories.
say even my thought was even Shudder. There are parts of it that were so much creepier in the original.
Right.
But again, yeah, you are taking from one culture and trying to make it appeal to a different culture. There's a lot of change-ups. It's hard to call those remakes. You're right. It's more reimagining.
I'm going to catch a lot of flack at the end of this one. So.
Prom Night?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen them.
I own them both.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I've seen them.
I know.
Prom Night.
Prom night? That boy's planning on getting laid.
The 1980 version of Prom Night was a straightforward slasher flick and knew it. It also had a completely different storyline. However, this 2008 remake pretends to be something that it's not by adding way too much backstory to make the movie more interesting.
Look at me! Can we go now?
Be together forever.
You ain't gonna be anyway. You're gonna be in jail.
This resulted in the opposite effect, proving just how poorly written and stereotypical many of its characters were.
He's making me so damn mad, and on top of that, I have killer cramps.
And in an attempt to earn more viewers and keep the movie PG-13, the filmmakers barely showed any bloodshed on screen, which kind of misses the point of a slasher film.
Please don't do this. Please don't.
Don't be afraid.
Donna! Donna! Donna!
That's kind of a bummer. If that's accurate.
Neither of them are great movies.
They don't look it.
Here's the thing. And you're going to see this as a common theme in my beliefs. I feel like the backstory did make the remake better. And this is where her and I are going to disagree almost every time.
Right. I see Freddy coming up here.
Yeah.
And that's a big fat disagree.
I'm actually surprised it's not number one.
Right.
Also, another problem I have, for the most part, from what I can remember, I found the first Prom Night, and if I remember correctly, Jamie Lee Curtis is in the original Prom Night.
Okay.
if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I think she is. I found it very boring.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas at least there were moments, even with the stereotyped cast as horror movies tend to have, which again, I don't know why that's a negative thing.
Right.
If anything, it adds humor
it's a thing,
to the stupid
just in
fucking
general,
movie.
yeah. And not just in remakes.
Yeah. That didn't bother. I thought it was funny. Now,
right.
Does it deserve to be on this list as a whole? Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Because again, it's just not a very good movie.
Right.
In general.
They weren't working with a lot.
But.
All right. Let's get into
number 5.
I'm surprised this is number 5.
Street. Produced by Michael Bay's horror production company Platinum Dunes, the remake of the well-regarded 1984 film seemed pretty pointless from the start.
Wake up, Nancy! Wake up!
To change things up, the 2010 film took some of the campier elements away from Freddy in an attempt to get...
So hold on.
What do you mean?
For other movies, you were going to complain that they were campy.
And this one you're going to complain that they're taking...
And then this one you're going to complain that they're taking away the campiness? Like, this is why I hate horror fans. I love you guys, don't get me wrong.
But
it's like, do you know how many times I hear...
hypocritical.
Especially with remakes alone. They changed too much. It's nothing like the original story. So then they turn around and they'll do one where they only change a couple things. And they'll be like, it's just the same movie. Why did they do it?
Right.
What the fuck do you want?
Well, and like she said at the very beginning, she's like, which seemed pretty pointless in the first place. Wrong. You just said it was well received. It was a fantastic movie. Now, are you talking about like...
No, they said this wasn't well received.
No, she said the 84 movie, which was well received.
Okay, yeah.
It seemed pretty pointless to do a remake. And it's like, yes and no, I get what you're going with. Like, the first was a masterpiece, and therefore may not need to be remade. However, with all the new effects we have, filming, blah, 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 like, it was cool to see it with all of those effects in place.
Now,
it's just...
Well, I'm going to wait for her segment here to end. I got a lot to bitch about.
To his darker roots.
We both do, obviously.
One little bit.
This made A Nightmare on Elm Street feel bloated with backstory and unnecessary exposition.
He was a gardener.
You're full of shit,
Chica.
Chica.
In the basement of the preschool, and you kids were his life.
The movie's CGI also seemed to distract from the actual story.
No, that's one of the coolest scenes I have ever seen in a horror
scene.
movie, damn it.
That, out of all the CGI scenes...
They picked the best one.
They picked one, yeah. Like, there is one that we will 100% agree with you, and you did not pick it.
Story.
I don't know.
And it wasn't as memorable.
Memorable?
It might have been a financial success, especially for an R-rated film, but it had nothing on Wes Craven's take.
Who are you?
I mean...
I will disagree.
God damn.
Okay.
She's pissing me off.
Okay, so... They took Wes Craven's original plans.
Right.
And made them happen.
Which could not happen because of the rating that he was writing under at the time.
Well, that too.
Well,
no, so
they don't equate to the same thing.
So back then, the original story has always supposed to have
the backstory.
been. Yeah, his backstory was always supposed to have been he was a child molester.
Yep.
Not a child killer. They changed it into a child killer because of a lot of abduction and rapes of children that were going on around the time.
Right around that time, yeah.
And he didn't want the movie basically coming out of the gate
looking like it was making money off of what was currently happening. So
at the time, I definitely understand why he did that, and I get that. I'm not down.
But that is his original script, his original plan for Freddy's character.
Right.
Yeah.
So they did that, which a lot of people complained about. But I loved it because they made you hate Freddy. This was the only Nightmare on Elm Street movie I've ever seen in my life where I was rooting for the teens by the end of the movie.
But what they did, what was so great is, so you're rooting for the teens by like midway point, because honestly, the first few to die, whatever. But then they do the whole switch up where like you're like, the parents are fucking evil because they had no proof, blah blah blah. Maybe this is not going the way that I thought, and even the kids are like, you damned him to this and therefore us to this hell without proof, and you're, you know, and then they find the proof, and then you hate Freddy even more because you're like, so not only was he a bad guy playing a good guy, but he played a good guy well enough that it tripped up the kids that he's tormenting, made me think he was a good guy for all of like 10 minutes, and no.
It was a good switcheroo.
It was an excellent switcheroo, especially for
double switcheroo.
A horror movie, because a lot of times I know what's going to happen like in the first 10 minutes, and it does it, like no matter how good the movie is, I'm one of those foreshadower person.
And admittedly, there's one CGI moment in this movie that is absolutely terrible.
Trash.
And I feel like people give the entire movie shit because of that one CGI scene.
And it was a take from the original. And
it's the one where he's coming through the wall and they made it a complete CGI mess of a moment.
It's where she's lying in the bed and he's coming through the wall, and it's a recreation of the original, but it's all CGI.
And it does
it's like
look terrible.
Poltergeist or some it's awful. It's awful.
And also, I will say,
the rest of it was really good though.
The acting as well is not as good as the original.
He got shit on for not being Robert.
I'm not talking about him.
Oh, just in general?
Just in general. Most of the teens, I felt it was about half and half.
You're right.
I was definitely glad to see the Twilight dude die in the very beginning. I think he should die in the beginning of every movie he's in.
Fair enough.
Just for being in Twilight. That's your punishment.
Honestly,
You're
like most movies, you cannot make me root for the protagonist. I'm waiting for, like, please die first is normally, like, I order them in,
But no, so I absolutely... The acting I thought was fine for the most part. Was not great. I will definitely give the original the big ups on that.
Right.
Heather Langenkamp, John Saxon, Robert Englund.
I mean, Johnny Depp was in the original Robert Englund. The Freddy character though was a good actor, and did very well in this role. He just got shit on and dismissed for not being Robert, which is not fair to him. Also, the lead chick in this remake was quite good.
I actually like the chick that played Nancy in this.
Good.
And I actually like Quentin too. A lot of people shit on Quentin. A lot of people think he didn't do a great job.
No,
I actually thought
those
he did fine.
two were redeemable, and honestly, the only two that I would have wanted to survive, which, you know.
And then the chick that died in her room by being picked up and then kind of thrown around. I did like how it was a little more aggressively thrown around instead of just being drug around.
Right. Because it honestly looked more like a possession, which it kind of is. It's a dream possession.
Right.
So, yeah.
But that's one of those things where I could take either or movie death.
I really liked the backstory, and honestly, the original, as much as I love it, has always been more about the comedy for me. And keep in mind, I think horror movies in general are funny. But I liked this darker take on it because it is supposed to be a horror movie. And so most scenes were dimly lit. Most took place at night. Right. They did a really good job, like with the CGI that they used, that we were like, no, that's actually great with the ash flying up. Like, they just made it a grittier feel.
Right.
And without that, too much of the campy humor, which, again, I don't have a problem with. I loved the original. But in this, it just kept it gritty, and I disagree. I don't feel it was like it was bloated with backstory.
Right.
There was so much going on that it felt like it was just little flashes.
Right.
Yeah.
One day we'll get into more
unpopular
on a lot of these remakes because of some things we're planning. But
yeah, but you know. Obviously, we get to talking about that one, and that one is like a very personal...
Right. I feel personally attacked. People hate it so much.
Right.
And it's really not that bad.
But I also feel personally attacked when people hate the originals, so...
Right.
It's just Nightmare on Elm Street in general, y'all. Excuse me, that was my phone.
Number 4, The Omen.
Damien?
Fair.
You okay?
This is one of the remakes I felt were unnecessary.
Did you just... I just said fair.
Now, I own both of them,
Yeah.
again. And I do enjoy both of them. I mean, Julia Stiles, I think she's a fine actress.
She's an excellent actress, yeah.
But this is one of those ones where it's just the remake was unnecessary because it was almost scene for scene, shot for shot.
Right.
And if you go that die hard into it,
Right.
which I'm pretty sure at that rate, I'm guessing Psycho's probably also going to be on this list because Psycho was scene for scene, shot for shot remade.
Right.
Like, you at least have to add a little something different.
Then again, Psycho was taking it from black and white to...
I think they actually have a version that's in
Maybe.
color from the original film.
Oh, I didn't see it. I saw the black and white.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've seen pictures of it.
Our entire bathroom is Psycho.
Right.
You bet I've seen the original. But yeah.
The studio behind this movie clearly saw an opportunity when it chose to release this remake of the 1976 suspense horror on June 6, 2006, or 666, otherwise known as the Number of the Beast.
For only when he is within you can you defeat the devil's son.
He's an excellent
But instead
actor.
of doing
As
anything
is him.
remotely creative with the concept, they just retold the original movie frame by frame.
For only if he is within you can you defeat the son of the devil. I see. He's killed once.
I see.
He'll kill again.
The Omen was acceptable enough for those who'd never seen the Richard Donner version.
He knew that he was dying. Apparently, yes. He said that he wanted to be forgiven by Christ.
But those who had were cheated.
He knew he was dying.
Apparently.
He said he wanted to be forgiven
I don't know. Okay.
Despite a stellar cast.
Yeah, unnecessary maybe because it is frame for frame. But again, they paid homage by picking excellent actors.
Right.
Doing it frame for frame. And for people who aren't, I don't know, our age or die hard in terms of vintage or whatnot, like I was just thinking about, you know, talking to your kids specifically and figuring out like what movies they haven't seen that absolutely shocks me until I realize how old they are.
Right.
And I can't.
So, like in this situation, now, again, for me, for people like us, this remake is not necessary.
It was just fine. It just wasn't needed.
But,
yeah.
Like, if I show both movies to my kids
They'll like the newer one.
and tell them to pick one, they're always going to pick the newer one because it's more up to date, it's more clear, It's not as grainy.
Right.
They're
more likely to know the actors.
Right.
I mean, there's all sorts of reasons that I was just thinking that while people our age, so I'm 39, don't find this necessary, really, you know, if you want to introduce that story and possibly the original to
a newer
audience, that is the way to do it. Right. And I want, like, my books to movies to be scene for scene, word for word, accurate with a great cast. So, you know, if you think of it that way, you know,
right.
It's not the worst horror, is what I'm saying. This is a top 10 worst horror. Unnecessary, sure, but not worst horror movie remake.
No.
Yeah.
Including Mia Farrow, Liev Schreiber, and Julia Stiles, the movie fell flat, and there were very few thrills. Number 3, The Fog.
It killed him. The fog killed him.
I actually enjoy the remake of this.
Well, I was going to say,
But
she said there's very few thrills for the ending of The Omen. Then that means she found very few thrills in the original.
Right.
If it was frame for frame. Like, you can't have it both ways, lady.
Right.
The Fog,
Read the book.
I like the book. I was just going to say the book.
Because both the original and the remake are really not great to me.
Well, and they're just not his story.
Right.
That seems to be a major theme
with King's
in King to movie
adaptations.
Ugh, yeah.
Despite being produced by John Carpenter, the director of the 1980 original,
Stay away from the fog.
The 2005 remake, directed by Rupert Wainwright, was problematic from start to finish.
Fog killed them.
Instead of creating the same sense of suspense and mystery the first film featured,
I think I'll go to Vancouver now.
this rendition was clunky and virtually scareless.
Stop screaming, we'll get nothing done.
Let me be honest with you, though.
Neither.
I've never felt scared during a horror movie. Ever. Other than the occasional jump scare that gets me.
Right.
Which, by the way, the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street had one that got me.
Right.
That none of these other movies on this list have.
Right.
But...
yeah, I don't know.
Viewers and critics complained about the lack of empathetic characters.
Pass over and have some fun. Ooh, look at that.
And the fact that many of these were reduced to horror movie cliches.
I know it sounds crazy, but I felt like I'd seen it somewhere before.
Not to mention the fact that the film received a whopping 4% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, alerting potential viewers to stay away from the get-go. Number 2, The Wicker Man.
You know anything about a place called Summer's Isle?
Stay away from the ladies.
Oh, man. Okay, so... The Wicker Man remake fails 100% at being a horror movie, succeeds greatly at being a comedy.
Okay. I'll give you that.
I will agree that this remake, as a remake, is terrible.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, it was a well-filmed, beautiful aisle, beautiful outfits, you know, Nicolas Cage, although, again, yeah.
So, their reasoning for Ryan Reynolds
applies to Nicolas Cage,
applies
but
more
not to Reynolds.
To Nicolas Cage.
Right.
In that he does not do these roles very well. Honestly, he doesn't do very many roles very well.
He does Nicolas Cage well.
He does Nicolas Cage well.
As long as you want Cage in a movie.
Right. Like, National Treasures are fine.
I actually liked, what was it, like Escape from Alcatraz or something like that?
I don't remember.
But he's a Nicolas Cage character.
But,
fucking fantastic, you know?
But no, this is way more funny than anything.
And
I mean, we usually find horror movies funny generally anyways.
Oh no, this is slapstick because...
But this is...
And I'm not saying, look, do not take that wrong. I like Nicolas Cage as an actor.
Yeah.
As long as he is playing a Nicolas Cage role.
Right.
I mean, I think it's called The Rock, but it's got like Sean Connery and Cage in it. And then Air Force... the
Con
Escape...
Air.
Yeah, Con Air, thank you. I mean, those are all Nicolas Cage roles.
Right.
And they're great. National Treasure. Just not in my horror movies, please. I mean, unless you want them to be comedy, and then in which case, proceed.
Yeah, go ahead.
Honestly, these ladies...
He ruined Ghost Rider for me, though.
See, and I will watch that because I find that shit slapstick funny. But again, I find Cage, like, slapstick funny. Yeah.
Ghost Rider's not a funny
He reminds
character.
me of the adult version of Macaulay Culkin. Like, he pulls that Home Alone face, like, pretty constantly. I'm sorry. Yeah.
As an actor, Nicolas Cage can be hit or miss, and this project has to be one of his biggest letdowns.
Sorry, I'm Edward Malis from California. I'm a policeman. See my badge?
So believable.
The script seemed to be all over the place,
I think you all should know that I'm here on business.
as the screenwriter tried to add more material from the novel that the 1973 cult classic was based on.
Now,
Tried.
For the last time.
For the
Where
last
is
time.
Rowan Morrison?
Instead of strengthening the supernatural horror thriller, this made for an incoherent plot, while moments that were meant to be scary came off as humorous.
Oh, no, not the beast!
Shut your mouth!
Ah! Oh, my eyes! My eyes! Ah!
However, due to its awesomely bad reputation...
Why would you not shut your goddamn mouth? I'm sorry, but this is why this is funny. Honestly, this gave me a more healthy, like, fear of bees than anything.
Right.
Like, that was the only, and I still appreciate them for, you know, what they do.
I will say they did curve me in this movie. Because this was the first... So I actually watched the remake before I watched the original.
Oh, okay.
So, towards the end, I'm like, ooh, I wonder how he's going to get out of this.
Get out of... No.
And it's like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He's okay. Okay.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
So I was thrilled about that.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's where I discovered my love for the bad guys winning in the end.
I do like endings where shit goes wrong because that's life, y'all.
Right.
That's life.
There are no happy
honestly,
endings. So much for our happy endings.
If you have followed some...
It was an Avril Lavigne reference.
What did you say? I didn't
so
even
much
hear.
for our happy endings.
Oh, right. But if you're following some chick that you had a basic, you know, couple night stand with onto an island, don't expect to come out alive.
No.
I'm just saying, like...
There's no way you fell in love.
This is the white chick that ran up the stairs.
Right.
I don't know.
Reputation. This version of The Wicker Man has had a second life thanks to a cult following.
Now, why in the hell would you let them do a sick thing like that?
Before we unveil our number one pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
I haven't seen that.
Didn't like either of the Black Christmases.
I won't watch Christmas really.
We will one
I
day.
have no. I have no interest.
None. For what we're doing, we kind of have to. We will one day. And then shit on them both.
That makes me very sad. Very sad.
Still hunting them.
I liked the remake of The Haunting.
But if I'm here, he can't harm them.
Who's killing who?
I like that.
I'm glad that's only an honorable mention because had that actually been on the list, I'd have been very disappointed.
I actually like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Then again, I like all of them. Like all of them.
Right.
The guy with the chainsaw. Jason.
Another very well done one.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen that one.
I haven't either.
Hey, you know what? That's it. Ride's over, pal.
Number 1, Psycho.
A boy's best friend's his mother.
Again, quite literally, scene for scene, shot for shot. And if I remember correctly, they even used the same camera
He did it
angles.
so well, though.
Huh?
He did it so well.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, they even used the same camera angles for each
Yeah,
shot.
but they did that on purpose because Hitchcock had created a masterpiece and they knew it, and they were paying
That's why I think there's
utmost respect for it.
They're saying here this is more of a cash grab than a true remake.
You think that's what she's going to say?
Because quite literally, with it being same camera angles, shot for shot, redone, it deems it unnecessary.
Yeah, but then again, you run into the same thing that I was saying with the updated actors and actresses, updated quality, yada yada, for the newer generation. And honestly, I like watching both of them. So, I don't know.
It's a pretty ambitious project to attempt to remake a film by one of the greatest directors of all time.
Thank you, Mr. Bates.
Norman Bates.
And it's an even bigger challenge to think you could actually improve on it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bates.
Norman Bates.
But in 1998, that's what it seems like director Gus Van Sant tried to do when he tackled Alfred Hitchcock's iconic horror thriller from 1960. But instead of bringing anything new to the table, Van Sant basically recreated the original version shot by shot. His rendition of Psycho has also been panned for its acting performances, including Vince Vaughn in the role of Norman Bates.
She's harmless. She's as harmless as one of these stuffed birds.
And Anne Heche as Marion Crane.
All right, Miss,
Crane.
Crane. That's it.
Good night.
Do you agree with our list? Which horror movie remake do you think is the worst? For more original top 10s published every day.
That's a big fat no.
What do I think is the worst horror movie remake? Black Christmas, because they done fucked up by making it the first time. Sorry.
I mean, honestly, Wicker Man was terrible. That belonged on this list. That was terrible. In terms of remakes, I'd actually have to like sit down and think about that one. Like actually look at what remakes there are, because again, you know, some of the stuff like you were mentioning, I've been introduced to the remake and then realized that it's a remake.
Right.
Or some of the stuff I've only ever seen the original and didn't even know there was a remake.
Right.
So I'd have to, but Wicker Man definitely belongs on the list. That is the only one that I like 100% agree with her.
Wicker Man and Fog.
The Fog was pretty terrible. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I forgot that had been.
And then I can understand Psycho and Omen being on it.
Yeah, but again, I don't know that they belong on the worst horror movie remakes versus just like unnecessary.
Right.
Also, I think I've only seen the second. The remake of Psycho once. I've seen the original multiple times. So when she was saying that the acting by Vince Vaughn and everybody wasn't that great, like Vince is normally an extremely good actor. So I'd have to rewatch it to see.
He plays a teenage girl really well.
As we just found out, yes.
Now, do not get me wrong, that movie is dumb as hell.
Oh, yeah. But it was funny.
But it was funny, and he does play a teenage girl very well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's... like I said, I don't really agree with the list. I can understand why some of them are on the list.
Right. But that's 4 out of 10.
I'm now interested to see what their best are.
And their remakes as well.
I'm surprised Poltergeist's remake wasn't on this list, but I don't remember when Poltergeist came out.
Yeah, you said this was like 6 or 7 years ago to begin with. I don't know. We'll have to see.
I'll find out.
Because some of my favorites made this list.
2015. So it would have been out right around the same time this video came out.
Because some of my favorites made this list.
Right. Well, the honorable mentions, though, were just honorable mentions, so they weren't actually on this list.
Yeah, I know.
But they did a second in the same year that was called Even More Top 10 Worst Horror Movie Remakes. So they probably made that list.
But I mean, obviously, Friday the 13th. I mean...
Friday the 13th...
You think that's going to be on there even more?
Probably. I don't know. Like I said, we're going to have to watch what their best ones are, because obviously there's only so many remakes anyways.
The fact that Nightmare on Elm was on this one, though.
And if you're doing 10, that's like 30 horror movie remakes in 3 videos.
Right.
So I'm sure there's probably some gray area there where they could cut
crossover,
being either or.
Right. We're going to have to make our own, because, again, I don't feel like the scoring system is valid either. No. Which we had kind of talked about, but she did mention Rotten Tomatoes multiple times and the percentage. And again, here's my thing. Horror movies in general get shit on by review corporations.
Generally, yes.
So, generally speaking, it's a horrible idea to go by the percentage that's shown on any of these ranking systems in order to choose what movie you're going to watch. They really are like cult followed or word of mouth or, you know, just it's that time of year type box office stuff. But you do have to find it out and decide on your own whether it's what category it falls in. And so I think that's a terrible way to put them out here. Also, you can't have it both ways. You can't be hypocritical about the same
That's the big
movie. The same movie. You can't be like, it's too campy, but then it's too serious, but then it's no.
Right.
No.
I don't think it's so much the same movie, but like one movie you're like,
oh, she said something about Freddy's that was both and neither at the same time, and it was like, wow.
well, no. So there was one movie where she said it didn't have, she was complaining that it was too campy. It was a different movie,
right?
And then on the Nightmare on Elm Street one,
they took out all the
campy, and it's
right.
like,
right.
You can't. That doesn't make sense.
Well, and then you have to just factor in that horror movies, because they're based on the Jungian archetypes, are going to be stereotypical.
Right.
Like, maybe we need a little bit more diversity in terms of the people involved, but on the flip side, the personalities, the personality of the killers, the types of killers, what we're afraid of, they're going to be archetypal. So you can't be like, well, it had all these tropes in it. Yeah.
It's a horror movie.
Yeah. So.
Anyways, we got one more to film. This one took a while, so.
Top 10s do.
Yeah. We'll see y'all later. We love y'all. Thank y'all for watching. And catch us on the best horror movie remakes. Let's see what we think there.
Drop your worst list.
Yes.
At least a couple.
And let us know what you either agree or don't agree with us on.
Right. Right.
Peace. I didn't realize that was an hour. Holy shit.